Hi guys, so Nigel Farage is the centre of a story once again, a bit like the debanking one. Now, he's talking here about a guy who threatened him on social media, was eventually arrested in the UK when he had arrived in Britain, and then is going to be deported. Now, it's likely that the individual that's been described here will be deported, but because of Brexit, Nigel Farage's Brexit, it's not so easy. Have a listen.
So the jury have finally, after many hours, reached a verdict, a majority verdict that says that Matapasa is guilty. To remind you, I saw this guy had left Sweden, he was a TikToker, and had said he was going to make his way to the United Kingdom. I already knew, though I couldn't say this in court, that he was up for a knife crime charge in Sweden, and the fact that he had a Kalashnikov tattooed on his face, he behaved like a gangster, he was filmed surrounded by young girls wearing burqas, made me think this is the kind of person we don't want in the United Kingdom. Now, as the Afghan made his way through European countries towards Calais, he was very, very boastful. So I posted a video about who he was, what he was, saying we don't want him to come to Britain. He then made a video in which he said, you know, you don't know me, you don't know what I am, I'm not mafia, I'm the mafia daddy, I want to come to England and marry your sister, although I would suggest the use of the word marry, perhaps we should think in a slightly different context. And then it was, I'm going to come and pop, 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 and then he headbutted the camera. Pretty clear, and I thought, crikey, this bloke is in Calais, he's about to cross the channel. Well, he did. He got to the country. Now, mercifully, he was detained by the authorities, but he's now been found guilty. And now, of course, we learn the truth, not just about the knife crime charge, but the fact that he's now due to appear in court in Sweden in December on child pornography. So I believe I was right from the very beginning. I just hope and pray that he is deported to Sweden to fight this case. My big fear was he'd at some point, very soon, be out free on the streets. The most frightening thing about this particular young Afghan coming into our country is we only found all these things out because somebody sent me some of his videos and I chose to expose it. Otherwise, he'd be walking around, maybe in your neighbourhood right now, if I hadn't put that video out. And think about this. Whilst there may be some genuine people that cross the channel, almost every day, there are people like Matapasa that cross the English Channel and will do this country and its people, particularly its girls and women, very, very great harm. And yet, neither the Conservative nor Labour governments have been prepared to lift a finger. At least there is now a debate about ECHR, yet again another debate that we started, but I don't believe this government has got the guts to do anything. None of these people that cross the channel should ever be free to walk the streets of our country. They should be detained and deported. And if this case doesn't prove that to you, then frankly, I don't know what will.
Okay, so a few things to say about this. First of all, if the UK left the European Convention on Human Rights, it would be more difficult to deport this individual, to send him back to Sweden. But because of Nigel, let's leave the ECHR for a moment. But because of Nigel Farage's Brexit, it's actually now more difficult, more complicated, I should say, to send this guy to Sweden. So before Brexit, it would be a simple transfer that would take place. But now post-Brexit, it's a lot more paperwork involved. So for example, before the UK left the European Union, it would be a simple 10 days of surrender. So it would take about 10 days to send this guy over. Now it could take months, up to 6 months, because once again, the UK is no longer a member of the European Union. This is not an EU citizen that's been sent to Sweden, and the UK is a third country. The paperwork involved will be a simple warrant, but now what's required is full extradition, because the UK, once again, no longer a member of the European Union, so more paperwork is required. Dual criminality would be waived for 32 offences before Brexit. Now it's required for all offences. There will be limited grounds for refusal on the Swedish side pre-Brexit. Now post-Brexit, they can say, well, for political reasons, we don't want to take this guy back. So before the UK left the European Union, Sweden could say, no, we're not taking him back based on humanitarian grounds, but now they can refuse it for a whole range of reasons as a result of Nigel Farage's Brexit. And then when it came to the actual numbers, we're talking about 1,000 annual transfers from the UK to the EU. Now we're talking about 15 to 20% of those being refused. So about 1,000 before were refused. Now we're talking about 15 to 20%, much more refusals from the EU side, from the EU member state side. So while Nigel Farage is selling the idea that, well, in order to fix problems like this, we need to leave the ECHR, it would make it more difficult for this individual to be deported. And of course, as a result of Brexit, it's now more difficult. There's more paperwork involved. Look, I'm not saying that the guy will not be deported. It's likely instead that he will be, but it could, instead of it taking place over about 10 days, it could take 6 months. And this guy will stay in Britain for 6 months at the expense of the taxpayer because of Nigel Farage's Brexit. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this, and I'll see you in the next video.